Happy December, everyone. It is December 1st. Welcome to Beware of Spoilers. I am Adam. And if you're hearing the intro music without any, without any intro before it, that means that I'm in my car on my way to work because it's time consuming to record things and also do everything I need to do for this show. So this is a neat little way to save time and make the most use of my commute. So today we have what's the word I'm looking for? Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, the latest entries in the Pokemon franchise, which are in fact remakes of Pokemon Diamond and Pearl from 2007. Games that I have very fond memories of, that I got for Easter the year they came out, and played the fuck out of, and yeah, I mean, those games were not without their flaws. It's like, looking back on them now, yeah, some of the graphics are a little bit wonky. I seem to recall that. The surf speed was painfully slow, but fortunately this wasn't a region like Hoenn where surf was a necessity. I think part of it too, surf in Gen 3 was incredibly fast. Or at least because of the way the water animations moved, it looked incredibly fast. Surf in Gen 4 was just abysmally slow, to the point where you're like, what the fuck? Why is it taking so long? And it made one of the routes, the only route that you would use surf on, it turned that route into a slog. And then, the Pal Park route as well, down below Sand Gem Town. Those are the only two places you really needed to use surf to do anything. But the game was cool. And the other thing that I seem to recall being the thing that would keep me from wanting to replay through the games was the walking up to Snow Point Town, these were two things that, playing through, because I had never really played through Diamond, Pearl, Platinum, I don't want to say I went into this blind, because, I had played these games before, but, the semantics of the story, I forgot. I remember broadly what was going on with Cyrus and all of that, but, there were semantic points that I forgot, and the order of operations of going to various towns. Fortunately, this game is very hand-holdy in that regard, where it's you still have a lot of the quality of life improvements that you find in Sword and Shield, it's going to the town map, we'll put a little flag where you need to go next to kind of direct you as to your next step, so that way you're not just wandering aimlessly and hoping for the best. It also has the autosave, which I'm fine with, because even, for catching legends, I didn't bump into an issue where it autosaves at an inopportune time, because you can still manually save. There's also Expial, which is not as big of an issue as a lot of people painted it to be, considering the AI in this game and the move sets of the gym leaders and the Elite Four and Champion are so much better than really any other Pokemon game. This is probably one of the hardest games I've played that wasn't Black 2, White 2 in hard mode. To the point where it's I got to the end and I was still underleveled when I had gotten to the Champion. And then the Champion has really good AI. The Champion is smart, and that's a good thing. When you battle against Cynthia, one of the things she has her Milotic, the evolved form of Feebas. Its ability is multi-scale, which gets a stat boost if it has a status effect, and it's holding a Flame Orb, so it immediately gets burned as soon as it comes into battle. And it's that's the kind of thing that, you see people do in actual tournaments, because that's the kind of thing that's going to help them win in an actual tournament. You don't see the AI do that. When you go to the gym leaders, there's an obvious type advantage in a lot of them, but the Pokemon they have will have a move that will outdo that immediately. So, like, I'm thinking of, I think Byron's his name, the electric gym leader. He has a Raichu, so, like, obviously you would go with a ground type or something like that, but it's a surfing Raichu, so it can use surf, and it'll just plow through your team. There was no gym leader in this game, or Elite Four member, or anything like that, where I managed to beat them without losing at least 1 or 2 Pokemon, and that's an achievement within itself. There are a few things I would have changed, and yeah, this game is kind of a one-for-one remake of the original, meaning that when you play through the game, there are certain things that were kept in this game exactly as they were that do not now work in an era where you can go. It's an 8-directional control stick instead of the 4-directional control pad, which is what they had on the DS when this came out. So the Snow type gym leader, or the Ice type gym leader up at Snow Point City, her puzzle is you have to go up and down these slopes into snowballs and make them pop by going through them, and then in the end you can just go right to her. The issue with this is that if you go to the right and then go straight down the slope, you'll end up right in front of her and next to the ladder to get up to her, to her perch and fight her. But you end up in this situation where you can just kind of go diagonally onto the staircase and not have to worry about that, because you can go in 8 directions. So you can skip the entire puzzle, or you can do that. Now, that's just something that you can do in this game instead of having to traverse that. The Grand Underground has had a bit of an upgrade, where it's not quite to the point of the wild area in Sword and Shield. It's probably the closest analog I can think of, where the wild area was somewhere in Sword and Shield I could go to and just wander around and just spend hours just hanging out, going through there, and just doing raids and going on. Which was part of the problem, like, with that game, was that because you were able to do that and you can collect so many experience candies fairly easily, you could overlevel your team very quickly, and you could become way overpowered. That is not exactly the case in this game. You can go to the Grand Underground, and the Pokemon there are a little overleveled, and you can, in theory, fight them. But the selection prior to getting the national dex is not worth wasting your time doing that. I played Shining Pearl, so I was able to get Magby, which is useful because Sinnoh did have a problem with fire types, like I think like Ponyta Rapidash, if you don't choose Chimchar, are the only fire types that are easily available in this game. Fuck traffic. Alright, we'll take the service road. So it's that kind of thing where it's like you look at like the upgrades they made. A lot of the quality of life changes that stuck really work. I think removing Pal Park and putting in Ramanas Park was an interesting idea, and it allows you to catch most of the legends through Gen 4, and I think just about between both games, every Pokemon up until Gen 4, so all of the 493, I believe, Pokemon are available in this game. I think Deoxys might be the only one that's not. You can get Manaphy through a mystery event. Shaman is in the game because there is a glitch that'll probably be patched at some point in the near future where you can get to Shaman's little island of flowers before the event comes, and I would assume Darkrai and Arceus are also in the game. But everything else basically is in there, and you can get it. You probably can't get Celebi either, but you can get Mew and who's the other one? Mew and Jirachi if you have Let's Go, and either of the Let's Go's or either Sword and Shield. You can get Jirachi and Mew in Floroma Town. What else is there? I think the art style kind of works. I like the following Pokemon. I like that they brought that back. I think that the art style does have its limits, though, in terms of the chibi art style working and, contrasting with what's going on in the story, because I feel like Chibi Cyrus talking about breaking down the bonds of reality and rebuilding a world in his image, and it's this little guy doing that. I think that was not a weird choice. No, I'll say it's a weird choice. It doesn't quite mesh well, and it looks kind of odd to see this little cutesy guy talking about such grandiose concepts, and it just kind of feels kind of weird. What else do I want to address with this game? It's a good palate cleanser from Sword and Shield going into Legends Arceus, but I'm not 100% certain how those two things are going to tie together, really. Because Legends Arceus looks like the next logical step from Sword and Shield, whereas this game is kind of a backtrack, because most places don't even have Pokemon in the overworld. If you play the game, you can't wander through what's it called? You can't just walk through the map anywhere and have Pokemon pop up and you can pick them out. It's very much still, this is the game that you played up until Let's Go, in the era before Let's Go, where they were like, here's the tall grass, you walk in, you encounter something, and then you go. Whereas Let's Go and Sword and Shield, you could see what you were encountering, for the most part. I know Sword and Shield had the mystery spots, but those were a rarity, and but for the most part, Pokemon just appeared in the overworld and you were able to pick them out if you wanted them to. And there were no random encounters in the grass, besides if you walked over to that spot, and that's not random then, that is, you have selected to have this encounter. What else do I want to address with this? And I'm not saying that's a step back, I'm saying that in this game, you would have needed to vastly redesign the Sinnoh region to make that work, because the Sinnoh region is very tight. Well, I mean, I guess so is Kanto, and they made it work there. Even if it did get cluttered at times. I don't know. I feel like that was, an error. And I think that, here's the thing. I like Ramanas Park. And I like the ability to catch legends and all of that cool stuff. Totally fine with it. That said, I feel like going out of my, I feel like there's an issue with people complaining about, the national decks, where this game does have the entire national decks up until this point in the franchise's history available to it. It does not have anything after. So there's no Gen 5, 6, 7, or 8 in this game. And in a weird way, where even when you go to Sword and Shield, they go out of their way to make it possible to get, to get the later, the Alolan forms or anything like that. Even like they made it work there. They made the Alolan forms available in Let's Go even. For the Alolan and the Galarian forms to not be available here feels weird, especially when Rattata is natively in the game. If I get Rattata, I should be able to trade it. If I get Meowth, I should be able to trade it for the Alolan forms. But that said, even without that, it feels kind of weird that there is no, there's nothing else in this game besides just, those. And this game is weird because it feels like it should be for an older audience, because I could see younger me getting very frustrated with this game. Like, if this was a game that was released in 2007, I would have been 12, 13. 13. This game would have frustrated the hell out of me. And thinking back to, like, 5-year-old me who was playing Red and Blue and all of that, or even like when Gold and Gen 3 came out, like, I think that if I had this game, I would have been massively frustrated by the difficulty curve, because it's like, you gotta sit here and you gotta think, like, okay, well, this motherfucker, for whatever reason, like, okay, he's rock type, but this guy knows Ice Fang, so that's gonna be a pain in the ass, so I can't just send out my my grass type, and he'll get fucked up by the Ice type move. So yeah, it's kind of it's a tough game, but at the same time, it also this game feels like the game for not adults, but for older fans of the franchise, in which point they should probably I think that in development, the idea was, we're going to try and hook in older fans. We're going to try and hook in people who may have fallen off the franchise and be like, look, you can. It's kind of like playing an update of this game that you played when you were younger. And I think to that extent it does well. That said, I would have liked to have seen some of the newer things in this game, because they did not shy away from the new quality of life updates that someone who fell off the franchise would be like, what the fuck? Where it's like, the XBL is very much a new thing. Even though it did originate in Gen 1, the fact that it's not an item anymore and it's just a gameplay mechanic, and it's not turn on, turn off, that is very much a recent, with, I want to say it was with Let's Go, because I don't remember it being in Sun and Moon. I remember they had the XBL, like, starting with, like, or XP Share. It was just the XP Share that got, redone. They had it with, what's it called? X and Y, but I don't remember them doing it the same way in Sun and Moon. So yeah, it's like, if you were someone who has played Pokemon in the past and maybe fell off, this is an excellent kind of jumping back on point, because it's the game that you always played, but on the Switch. There's no frills, no changes, no even new stuff besides the quality of life changes, and it's a pretty fun game. I don't think that it necessarily needs anything to change. Like, the things that I would have liked to have in the game are not things that are going to make or break the experience for anyone, but I think that it would have been such an asshole. It would have been, like, for me at least, as someone who has never fallen off of the franchise, and maybe I'm not the target audience, but for me it would have been cool if we had some of the later Pokemon, even if, as we get through Gen 5 and beyond, I tend to lose track of what's what in terms of the Pokemon, and who's who. But it feels like, Legends Arceus is going to be closer to what, people have been asking for a decade now, in terms of, like, we want a, we want a Pokemon game that will be taken seriously. We want it where it's open world, kind of like Breath of the Wild, but not entirely like Breath of the Wild, because it's going to be, it's open world, quote unquote, but there's still areas that are gated off pending completion of certain things, and, and I feel like that makes sense, because, like, Breath of the Wild has it where you can, find items and get stuff that will allow you to get stronger, just kind of randomly laying around. So survival in that works better than in the Pokemon world. But yeah, I feel like that's this game isn't a misfire by any stretch of the imagination, but it is, I think it's a perplexing choice to not include some of the newer Pokemon, and I feel like this comes down to the fact that I think to an extent, this is a fan game. This is a game that was made by another production company. It's because it wasn't made by the Pokemon Company International. It was not made by Game Freak. This is made by, Konami or Bandai or something like that. It was made by someone else. And because it was made by someone else, they took what they loved about the game and put it back in and didn't put in any of the new stuff. And I feel like that's something that, mileage will vary, as I like to say, on whether or not you will approve or disapprove of these decisions. Because it's not something that, it's not something that you necessarily need to think hard about. Because if it was, it would be something that you could, you could ruminate on it. You can start fan campaigns to boycott the games and all that stuff. But we'll wrap up there for today. Later today, we'll have a review of Episode 3 of Hawkeye, which, from what I've seen so far, is all but saying, we have Kingpin, get ready for Kingpin. So, we'll break that down a little bit later. Which is annoying. I gotta go fucking pay my rent today, so I gotta waste my lunch break going out. So it's a fun little thing I'll be watching after work, rather than on my lunch break. And then there is this weekend, Come On is finally getting a wide release, so we'll be doing that this weekend, and Wolf on Thursday, which is a psychological thriller that was a select at various film festivals, based on the trailer I saw. Also, I will be doing Wheel of Time episode 4. I have not forgotten. I have been busy. So I was going to record that yesterday on my way to work, but I had to handle a health insurance issue. So I will be doing Wheel of Time episode, episode 4. I'll probably just bundle it in with episode 5. And one final note, if you want to support the show, go to bit.ly/TMRbooks, and that will give you a list of all of the available books that I have, including my most recent one, Echo Alpha, and all of my ongoing Kindle Vella stories. Today is episode 4 of Taser and Acrobat on Kindle Vella. So again, that is bit.ly/TMRBOOKS. And we'll be back with other stuff later this week. Until then, have a great rest of your week.